Michael Jackson would die 66 days before his 51st birthday, or 9 weeks and 3 days. We will talk about the significance of 66 and 93 as we move along. What you should know about 51 is it's a number connected to conspiracy. The word conspiracy has a Pythagorean gematria of 51. Think about Area 51. The name Michael in Simple English gematria also sums to 51. He died just before his 51st birthday, just before he was supposed to start a concert of 50 shows at the age of 50. The name Michael Jackson has gematria of 124. He would die at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, which has Pythagorean gematria of 124. Notice his initials for Michael Joseph Jackson, MJJ. M's the 13th letter, J's the 10th, J's the 10th, initials summing to 33. Another number very much connected to his death, connected to many celebrity deaths. The name Michael in Pythagorean gematria is 33. His concert that was scheduled from July 8th to February 24th, this is it, was scheduled for exactly 33 weeks to the day. We'll get to all of this, Truth Seeker. Notice that the name Michael Jackson has Pythagorean gematria of 52 and 61. With regards to 61, it is the God number in Jewish gematria. We'll talk more about why that's significant in regards to his death. I'm just setting you up with all the foundation. We're going to make the connections as we move along. Let's take the time to read this excerpt from the Wikipedia about his death. On June 25th, 2009, Michael Jackson died of acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication at his home on North Carrollwood Drive in the Holmby Hills neighborhood of Los Angeles. His personal physician, Conrad Murray, said he had found Jackson in his room, not breathing and with a barely detectable pulse, and that he administered CPR on Jackson to no avail. After a call was placed to 911 at 12:21 p.m., notice that time, Truth Seeker, 12:21. 12 plus 21 is 33. There's going to be a lot of 33 in this. At 12:21 p.m., Jackson was treated by paramedics at the scene and was later pronounced dead at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. On the eve of Jackson's 51st birthday, the Los Angeles County coroner concluded that his death was a homicide. Shortly before his death, Jackson had reportedly been administered propofol and two anti-anxiety benzodiazepines, lorazepam and midazolam, in his home. His personal physician was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2011 and served a 2-year prison sentence. Notice the name of his personal physician, Truth Seeker. There's a lot that's coded into this name. Conrad has a gematria of 28, Murray 33. I want to show you very quickly what's special about both of these numbers. These are numbers that get coded a lot into major history. 28 has gematria of 156. So does 33. 156 is going to be a very crucial number in this story. Michael Jackson died 156 days after the inauguration of Obama. We'll get to why that's significant. In history, the World Trade Centers existed for 33 years, but were open for 28 years. In the worst act of domestic terrorism since September 11th, at least as reported in the mainstream media, it was the Boston Marathon bombing blamed on the Tsarnaev brothers. The older brother who was shot to death had a life number of 28. The younger brother had a life number of 33. I have videos on all of this information. There's a whole lot more to the story. I just want you to understand the significance of 28 and 33. I don't think it's any coincidence that these are the numbers coded into the doctor responsible for his death. Also notice that when you add 28 plus 33, it sums to 61. Michael Jackson, a name with 61 gematria. Conrad in Simple English gematria is 55. This is the number for Satan. The hospital that Michael Jackson was taken to was established in the year 55. Murray, a name with 96 gematria. The word Freemason is 96. Again, it is the Freemasons, the Zionists. They are who are responsible for these tragedies by the numbers. Also, those initials CM for Conrad Murray in Jewish gematria, they sum to 33. And in English gematria, they sum to 96, like Freemason. 33, an obsession of the Freemasons. Let's look at the drugs blamed for Michael Jackson's death and expose what's interesting. Propofol has gematria 50. Michael Jackson died at age 50, weeks before starting a concert or a tour of 50 concerts. Propofol in simple English gematria also sums to 113, which is a number actively coded into mainstream lies. The word dishonest is 113. The word mainstream is 113. No coincidence, truth seeker. Acute propofol in Pythagorean gematria sums to 64. This is a very special number for both Zionism and also black history. Notice that Israel, Zion, and Thelema all have gematria of 64. The phrase of Thelema is do what thou wilt, which in Pythagorean gematria sums to 64. The first black president is named Barack Hussein Obama. In Pythagorean gematria, the name sums to 64, just like civil rights. The Civil Rights Act happened in 64. And let me just type it in, just for those of you who are skeptics of my math. Civil Rights Act happened in 64 equals 64. Barack Hussein Obama, a likely contrived name for an agent that is the president, which is who I think Barack Hussein Obama is, has a name gematria of 64. Just think about the psychological operations going on, truth seeker. In the decade before he became president, the United States of America was taught to hate Muslims, and they were taught to hate the names Osama bin Laden, which sounds a lot like Obama, and Saddam Hussein, which is his middle name. This is no coincidence, truth seeker. This is the kind of nation we live in. It is a nation that has always been run by the Freemasons and the Zionists. It is a nation that has always divided and torn the people apart over divisive issues. Religion, race. This drug that they're saying he's intoxicated with also has very interesting gematria. 79 is what murder sums to in simple English gematria. 151 is what the doctor's name sums to in simple English gematria. The doctor who's accused of giving him this drug that murdered him. Again, if you're new here, I have done this kind of work on the deaths of hundreds of people. It is always this way in celebrity suspicious deaths. What it tells to me is these stories are contrived by the numbers and we're given all these false details. If you watch the Dick Gregory interview, he says it didn't have anything to do with drugs. He was killed by a laser. Now, I don't know that that's true. That's Dick Gregory's information. But what I'm telling you, truth seeker, is all these details that we're decoding, the reason I'm decoding them is to show you that the story is bullshit, made up by numerology and gematria, which is very important to the madmen. It's not important to me. I've just learned to see through their bullshit by paying attention long enough. I watched the news media for 15 years with open eyes, knowing it was nothing but propaganda and wondering why the numbers 33 and 47 were always reported. Then lo and behold, I learned to decode words, and I found how often these same numbers and more were coded again and again. The intoxication of the drug that he was killed by has gematria of 142, just like the word 42 when written out. Remember, Michael Jackson died on a date with a life lesson number of 42, born on a date with 42 numerology. His death is also connected to the president. Would you believe the gematria of President Obama, truth seeker? 142. And we'll talk more about 42 and Obama very shortly. The gematria of murder, truth seeker, connected to the drugs above. His initials CM break down to 3-4, like murder. Now here's something interesting. He died at his home, a lot like Elvis Presley, who died at the age of 42 as well. Elvis Presley's mother died at age 42. I've done a video on Elvis Presley's death, all by these numbers, very similar numbers. Elvis Presley did black music, remember. He stole the blues sound, as many people will say. Anyhow, the same people have always run the record studios, from Elvis, Michael Jackson, and more. It is the Zionist Jews, the Freemasons. In the Jewish faith, the number 239 is a very spiritual number. The Torah, which is the Jewish holy book, has a Jewish gematria of 239. Where Michael Jackson died, the address has a gematria of 239. And what's interesting about this is 239 happens to be the 52nd prime number. Remember, Michael Jackson without the S exception equals 52. So what do you know? Mr. 52 lives in an address with 239 numerology. I'm telling you, Truth Seeker, this is no coincidence. These are all the trademarks of the madmen who run this world. Michael Jackson was a slave from birth, as Dick Gregory points out. He never had a childhood. He was always raised to be an entertainer. He was always controlled by this industry. He made a lot of money. He gained a lot of power and fame, but he was always a slave to the real tyrants behind it. This number 239 is a very spiritual number, Truth Seeker. If you don't know who Abdul-Baha is, he came to the United States of America just before World War I, and he spent exactly 239 days here. His name in Jewish gematria sums to 239. His name in simple English gematria sums to 52. He spoke out up to the United States, to the people, saying we need to find peace, we need to find love, we need to find acceptance, we need to stay out of war. He gave us this message just before we went off to World War I. Very recently, Pope Francis came to the United States on the date of September 23rd, which can be written 23/9. He met with President Obama, and he took the White House lawn at 9:23 in the morning on the date of September 23rd. These numbers of significance that are coded into big things, monumental things, which is what Michael Jackson was as a man. A symbol, a monument. So now here's where we get into some really crucial information. Michael Jackson died at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, which has gematria of 124, just like his name. Ronald Reagan was the president in 1984. This number we talked about in the beginning, connected to Barack Obama, as well as the day that Michael Jackson died on. Michael Jackson died on the birthday of the author of 1984. Michael Jackson, on the topic of 124, would die exactly 137 weeks before Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston's full name in gematria has this 124 connection as well. The word depression in simple English gematria sums to 124. The deaths of Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson no doubt caused depression and sadness in millions of people on this planet who are big fans of them and who are inspired by their music and work.